extra time.
John's Telegraph makes your life.
He's been great, hasn't he? I mean, he's got runs in the test matches. He's brought some wonderful form into the one-day arena. I mean, he's a class player. And, you know, I saw an interview with him at the start of the tour where it was just talking about he was looking to engage in South Africa and looking to back himself and get to know the conditions. And that positiveness and that approach has obviously paid off for him. He wasn't fearful about the conditions. He was wanting to grind out performances, and he obviously came in with the right mindset. That was why I said, I thought when I heard that interview, I thought the rest of the batting group would have been similar. But he didn't really get anyone else who supported him, particularly in the tests. He's had some guys who've supported him in the one-days, and that's why you guys have been so good. It's very similar to the way he plays his cricket, and because he's got that attitude, there's a good chance he'll get a really good run and a real opportunity to settle himself and cement himself in the team. That's just the nature of cricket. If a captain likes the way a person goes about his business, he'll get an extra run of it. I liked his attitude of his approach in Cape Town. I thought he was very good, the way he played that knock. And he's obviously learning. He's got a bit to find out. He'll be ultra positive in India and the conditions where he can take on the spinners. He'll learn the art of what he needs to do in maybe England and Australia. So I think he still needs to find out how he wants to play, how he mixes his aggression with sound technique. And if he can get himself in for a period of time, then I'm sure he can learn. But yeah, he's got all the ingredients, I think, of the right attitude, some good skills, and time will tell whether he can develop that, take that potential. A lot of people have got potential, but to take the potential to the next level is always the key, so we'll have to wait and see. Well, I'm not really saying it's aggression that he's after, but it's the attitude of, I'm here to compete, I'm going to back myself, and I believe I'm going to win the battle and come out on top. I think that's the attitude that you have to have. I mean, Malcolm Marshall always taught me that have a great respect for the opposition, but also have a great self-belief that whoever you come up against, you respect them, but you can win the battle. And I think that's what he wants to install. And that confidence, yes, I suppose it can be edgy. You know, if your confidence might go into over-aggression or overconfidence, and that's the balance that they need to find. But I suppose you can always curb that aggression and that attitude. Sometimes if someone hasn't got it, it's difficult to generate inside them. So I think they'll just have to work on that. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. In international sport, you're going to have emotion, but how you keep that emotion calm and how you channel it in the best direction towards just performance rather than peripheral issues, I think that's the key. Came on this tour, I thought that was going to be their strength. I was a bit disappointed by the way they went. I think looking back, I think they've even identified that preparation-wise they needed to be here for more time. And I suppose it goes down to what are the actual goals you want to achieve. If you want to win test series away from home, then you have to give them more priority. And priority means more preparation. So I think going now to England, I mean, I've heard that some of the guys are going to go and play some county cricket. So preparation-wise, you would think they'd be better equipped. When they go to Australia, it's the same case in point. It just takes time. They've settled in, and we've seen in the one-days that everyone's started to look comfortable. Probably, maybe even if you had structured the tour of having one-day internationals first and then the test matches, that could have been better preparation for you guys. But I think practice matches. I think if you needed to have 2 practice matches and also guarantee that you had some genuinely good opposition rather than just, I don't know, B-team players or development players or whatever. But that's where I think you got to set the goals. You know, I mean, what do you want to achieve? Is it a great thing to win a one-day series, or is it a great achievement to come away and win a test series in South Africa which you haven't achieved? And I think maybe that's where the priorities should have met the same in the preparation. You said that I think you always need to look at things from different perspectives. I mean, you've got the 60 wickets and that's fantastic. But then you've also got to look at the surfaces that were played on. The hardest one to get wickets on was Supersport Park. But the other 2, there was plenty of assistance. So you are going to bowl teams out when you've got surfaces like that, particularly in the fact that India bowls first most of the times. But yeah, I'm impressed with your stock. I mean, it's the first time that you've come on a series where you've had 5 or 6 or 7 guys that could have been picked and played and done a good job. In the past, you might have relied on just Javagal Srinath or I'm trying to think, Zahir Khan or something like that. Whereas now you almost had a good balance to it, and I think everyone contributed, and even the spinners that played did a good job. So the bowling was good, and if you can keep all those bowlers together as a group, there's no reason why you can't be successful in England and Australia, where the fast bowlers will have to do a job. I mean, I think he's got something different, isn't it? And his action's different. He bowls from wide in the crease. He's a little bit more skiddier, rushes onto you a little bit. So if you've got something that's different, you can always be effective if you channel it in the right way. And I think he learned as he went through the Test series about the lines and lengths to bowl and what could or couldn't be successful. And I think he got exposed to some nice surfaces. I remember doing an interview with him where I said to him, wouldn't you like it if the rest of your Test career was played on surfaces like this? And he said, definitely. So it's going to be more of a challenge when he gets to India. He's going to have to learn to reverse it and learn how to be effective at different stages of the matches. It's a learning curve, but as I say, it's in the old days you almost learned your trade before you got your opportunity. There's a lot of kids, people like Ngidi, I mean, they're all learning on the job. So I mean, he's played 9 games, first-class games before getting his Test cap, and he got 6 wickets in the first innings. He learned on the go. And I think that's where they're pretty good now, the players. They're very adaptable and they can adjust things. Well, I think in T20 format, all-rounders are identified as guys who can bowl 2 or 3 overs and also score 20 or 10 deliveries. I think the challenge comes where you have to repeat that performance for a long period of time. So bowling 20 overs in a Test match, or good 20 overs, or batting for 100 deliveries to get a 60 or something. All-rounders, the modern all-rounder, can contribute in T20 games, and we tend to see them as good all-rounders because they make a contribution. 1 score they'll get or some wickets. But I think consistency of being able to produce performances in all different formats, in all conditions, I think that's the challenge, because the younger players don't get exposed to as much of that as we might have in our day. I mean, I was actually we're chatting about it now. If you look at their one-day stats, it's brilliant. I think Kuldeep's averaging under 20. He's got 38 wickets and whatever. He's almost like 1.5 to more wickets a match. Chahal's very similar. I think he's averaging 22, and their economy rate is good. Can those 2 spinners win the World Cup for you in England? I think it's fantastic that you've got a tour there now to be able to judge what performances they get, because you don't always get surfaces that hold up. You don't always get surfaces that turn in England, and sometimes you can get there and it's a green seamer. So do you play both of them? I think that's the challenge for you guys. You need to work out whether those 2 can be relied on to go the whole way through to win you a big tournament, or whether you're going to have to find another option so that maybe one of them plays. Because I think the World Cup happens in the early part of the season in England, and in general those conditions don't really offer spin. But in saying that, when we got to the World Cup, we were expecting, last time in '99, we were expecting surfaces to be nipping around a little bit, but because it was the World Cup, it was almost like the surfaces were over-prepared, because the groundsmen were scared of anything going wrong, so they rolled them for more, they gave them less water. So it might work in the case. You guys were good in the Champions Trophy, but I think that was a different time of the year, and they played on the same pitches over and over again, which meant that they started to hold up and grip. But I think that's why your tour there is important, very important, because it's a year away, and you'll be able to gauge whether being able to play 2 of those will work or won't. I mean, I don't know. I'd consider maybe going back at some stage, but I had 2 girls, 11 and 14, and also when I was involved in RPL, it was you'd basically rock up 2 weeks before, prepare, then play. So it was over 8 weeks, and then we'd always go back for Champions Trophy, because with Mumbai we always made the Champions. So that was another 5 weeks. It's just my kids were at the age where I like to spend some time at home.
Hit the subscribe option and the bell icon to get all the exclusive sports videos on Extra Time.